Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to all of you who have been patiently awaiting the moment where I have these conversations again. Um, yeah, things have not been great, you guys. It's been quite hectic and busy, but you're not here for the formalities or the excuses. You're here because this is a very important conversation that requires that I come online and um, deal with some of the deal with some of the more important parts and elements of this conversation that I have been meaning to get to, and that is why we have taken a step back out of this busy situation that I'm in here to talk about some of the things that I've been meaning to address. And this is going to be a three-part series about the Black female experience, as I see it from my perspective, of course. So, this is me here giving my opinion. I usually give comments on some of the different topics that I share on my channel, and I usually talk about what other people are talking about when it comes to whatever is trending. But this time, I'm going to be giving some insight from my own personal experience and also some insight based on some of the research that I've done and some of the coaching that I've done. If you guys are interested in being a part of our core coaching group, please leave your information in the comment section or email me directly at nhandaeducateme.gmail.com at gmail.com. I'll leave all of that in the description so you guys can go check that out. So, if without further ado and without further formalities, let's get into this. So, this segment is going to be divided up into three parts, mainly mind, body, and soul. We're going to be talking about the first one of the Black female experience, which is the mind. And um, we're going to divide it up, or we're going to use the Johari window method to discuss some key principles, if you may, about how people need to start to think about themselves and the image that they portray in their minds of who they think they are, and why it is super important to be cognizant of that and to allow space for that to grow. And so that you could learn how it is you're interacting in your world with the people around you. So, first, we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to talk about image, self-esteem, or just esteem, and mental health. One of my favorite topics to get into it about, right? Because if y'all know me, I am a huge advocate for therapy and dealing with one's mental health. Now, I want us to talk so then since we're going to be focusing in this topic or in this segment on the mind, we're going to start with the Johari window in the context of some different aspects of people's personalities, right? Some of the things that we think we know about ourselves, and some of the things we think people know about us, and what we think people should know about us versus what people know about us that they either don't tell us or that we don't know people are thinking about us. And this is extremely important for Black women or women of Black African descent, is because there is a narrative in the media, and I talk about this in my Being Mary Jane syndrome because it is one of the most recent media ideologies, um, ideology, ideological images of Black women in media that portrays us in a light that we want to emulate and have accepted as our own. Now, there are lots of things that don't really add up in the Being Mary Jane episodes, and I talk about that. And so this is something that I want to jump off from. If you guys have not seen that, please go check out that three-part, I think it's a trilogy. I think it's three of them on my YouTube channel. But that one was one of the many examples of how Black women are being portrayed in the media that does not serve us. And I remember when I first started talking about the disjustice, if you may, that this imaging does to us as Black women, I received a lot of negative press, a lot of negative press from Black women specifically because it was it was crashing and burning this ideology of ourselves that we have, that we can do everything and anything, right? And this is something that I also struggle with because I have to be checked often by the people around me who love me, who I have learned to allow to tell me when I'm messing up and when I need to stop thinking that I can do all of the things that I want to do and be more pragmatic and more practical in the way that I conduct my life. Now, if you didn't get all of that, please rewind it because it's a lot and it's four hearts in a window. I wish I could like know how to do this like an imaging, because I think that's something that YouTube offers, right? Like I've got to give like a visual of what it is I'm exactly talking about. So you have the part where you want people to know and that people know about you. All right. And then you have the part of you that you don't want people to know about you. Um, and then you have the part that you think people know about you. Wait, what others think about you, what we think about ourselves, what we don't know about ourselves that others may or may not tell us, and what are those things that we need to learn and discover about ourselves. This is important to understand it because it is key into how it is people interact with us and how our interactions are hindered, helped, or even um set back because of some of the things that we have done in our interaction. I find, just to use the being Mary Jane example, Mary Jane should be one of, oh, excuse, sorry, y'all, I was not about to sneeze directly into the microphone, but I find Mary Jane to be one of those people that is a very typical example of what it means to be the strong Black woman that is very abrasive, very hard, harsh, aggressive, and very masculine, and a lot of very negative things, in my opinion, are associated with being Black and female. And even to that even to that, because we are so used to carrying that persona into all our relationships, it definitely serves us a great disjustice because people are intimidated and turned off by wanting to open up and be vulnerable and share things about us that they probably don't like or are concerned about. Now, there are many examples in the Being Mary Jane episode series that this is an example of, like the time when she was wetting the bed and she asked her psychology friend for help and her friend gave her the help and then she just blew her off. I find that that is very symptomatic of who we are as Black women, and it is something that if we were to talk less and listen more in our relationships with those people around us and not try to always be in charge of everything, then we could have more insight into what is going on and how people are actually experiencing us. That requires us to let go of the idea that we are always right. And sometimes, I mean, let's face it, women are often very much right. I'm not going to deny that. I'm not that I'm not that mature yet to say that we're sometimes wrong. Our wrongness tends to usually be with other things. But one of the things that is very important for us to be able to understand when it is that we're interacting with people is that how we can be more reciprocal in the way that we experience the people around us. How do we communicate and express love? And how it is that we are encouraging others to love us. Love does not always mean that we get what we want or that we get what we think we need. It also means that we have to be able to be open to understand what other people are concerned about. And the Johari window example is a very, very key component about setting up ways of being that can allow other people in our lives to experience us in different ways and to have the ability to share things about us that they may or may not like, even if those things are right or wrong. You might want to know those things. I mean, you will save yourself loads and loads of heartache and trouble if people can just be a little bit more honest with you about what it is that's bugging them about you. then you can be the one to say, this is not the person that I need to be in my life, or, oh, I didn't know that people experience me that way. Maybe I need to change something. This is extremely hard for Black women to get because I feel like every time we are told something that we don't want to hear, we automatically default to patriarchy, racism, and that we're the ugly Black women. And now all things aside and all things being exposed for what they are in today's day and age, we know that we can no longer hide behind these excuses. We need to be able to start to take some amount of accountability and responsibility for the way that we allow the way people experience us and change the narrative by changing the way we experience ourselves. A part of that is to be honest in looking into spaces that we have not even discovered. And looking inward is a part of that, but a bigger part of that is also how people are experiencing us. I can't express this enough. Now, I'm not saying that you are going to sit down and listen to people critique you to no avail. Like, that's not what I'm saying. Um, I'm saying that you ask for feedback and be prepared for it to be negative. If you're not prepared, like this is a specific that you can do, right? If you want to know about what people that you care about are feeling about you, and it is something that you may think you're not prepared to receive if it is something negative, then you need to unpack that. And of course, self reflection and unpacking your reactions to people's critiques of you is a huge part of self reflection. Taking the time out, and some of us, a lot of us are going to need to be able to do this with someone who is like accompanying us on our journey, like a therapist or a coach. We don't want to be sitting with these negative emotions alone because they can really like bury us in an emotionally dark place. And so, getting to a place or getting help with someone from outside to help you to unpack and self reflect on some of the things that you need to work on is a process that is very much worth being able to heal parts of you that have been hurt by um, a lot of the things that we have carried. We know that we are carrying these things. We've been carrying these things for generations now. And now we have more tools available to us that we can utilize for our own better well being. There is really no excuse for us to be carrying around trauma and hurt and pain. We just need to stop relying on the church and use therapy to supplement our spiritual journey, if you may. Like a lot of people be coming up to me and asking me if I'm a spiritual person, if I'm a Christian, whatever. Look, I believe that therapy and mental health is a supplementation of your spiritual journey. And I don't want anybody to confuse the two, but they're very much extremely related. There are certain things that the church can do that therapy can't, and there are certain things that therapy can do that the church absolutely is not equipped to do. And come from me if you want to. That's just been my experience. I have talked to people, priests and pastors, who have a psychology degree and have counseling background, and I sought them out specifically for that reason. But I will say that you have to be able to make sure that you're doing both because both can be extremely helpful. And of course, if you go to a therapist, not all therapists are atheists. Like I know I've heard some people say that. We just need to break the stereotype of what it means to have therapy and why, because too many of us are walking around with serious mental issues and we're carrying too much and we victimize ourselves and um we have like this weird hero syndrome where we have to be strong and adorned for being strong and for being able to make like bread out of stone, but that's not what life is. And if we believe and can accept that we are deserving of love and make ourselves deserving of love, then that will elevate the esteem and self-esteem in our lives to actually put us in a position to relax and to allow love in our lives in a deeper way. Now, I'm not going to sit here and try to give you a therapy session in 15 minutes. That's not my place. What I'm saying is that um, doing the work sometimes mean can sometimes mean the difference between life and death. It can mean the difference between what you are able to accomplish and and staying stuck where you are. And too many of us, rich, poor, young, old, are not doing the work just for the sake of wanting to be right. And we think that people cannot recognize how wrong we are. And this is the part of the Johari window that will open up, that we are completely exposed. We're out here with our complete whole asses out. Like everybody can see that like we don't have our stuff together. And so you can't necessarily blame people for viewing Black women in a certain way, because we participate in our own demise by carrying certain narratives that do not serve us. And until we can at least get to the point of understanding how these narratives are not serving us, or even be open to the idea of exploring, maybe, what does it really mean that I'm this way, or you're experiencing me this way? Like, what does that mean to you? And really listen, disconnect our feelings of being criticized from the situation, and just hear people out. Like I said, they could be wrong, but just be willing to listen to that. And if you are a type of person, or if you find yourself in a situation where you're hearing the same kinds of thing from different people often, then that might be a red flag that this is something that you need to change. Like, you talk too much, or you criticize people too much, or you're never on time, or you have a drinking problem, or you work too much, or you can't find a man. Whatever it is, if it resonates with you and more people are saying it. Now, I know there's a very, very big growing narrative right now to just say F it to the world, and I'm gonna live my truth and all of that stuff. But we do not live in a vacuum. We do not live on our own. We we live as a collective, and our actions have an equal and opposite reaction on a micro scale, macro scale, global scale. And each one of us is an ambassador for ourselves, and we cannot accept and act like as if the things that we do collectively or separately, or just at home, just stay that way. Because the internet is a very fabulous and very unforgiving place for certain bad behaviors that have been microscopic before, are now being magnified. And so people are seeing us in a way that was never possible before, and starting to question the viability of our sanity and our brand. That's why there are things that I just don't do. An image is a huge, huge, huge part of that. So that's one thing. Self-reflection, therapy, having open conversations with the people around you about how they view you, how you view you. Or are those things lining up? Are those things balanced? The way I see myself is the way other people see me, or are they seeing something more or less different from what it is I think I present? Do they notice something about me that I don't notice about myself? And how does that play into the image of people's stereotypes of Black women on a whole? And for myself. And I know that it's a lot to carry. People don't want to be accountable for having to be the ambassador of their culture or race. They just want to be able to live their own individual lives. But as so long as we live in communities and metropolises and cosmopolitan places, cities, countries, villages, whatever, we do owe it to ourselves to act in a certain level of civilized manner that is that speaks volumes, that people want to adhere to, adore us, and respect us as human beings and individuals. I'm going to give you a very, very easy, simple example. And I know that a lot of people are really, really like bothered by this, but are so often attacked. The bonnet. All right. My daughter went to pick up my youngest daughter the other day somewhere, and she went and left the house with that on her head. And I lost it. And she was like, "Oh, it's not such a big deal." And I said, "Look, whatever it is that's going on in your life should not be so bad that you can't comb your hair before you leave your house. This is a sign of a person who has basically given up on life." Nobody saw it. Like, she had on, like, it's really cold here in Germany right now, so no one actually saw. But every time I see someone with a bonnet in public, flopping around, I automatically think that this person has a poor self image of themselves and does not care enough to do the bare minimum necessary to look presentable in public and has some level of oppression going on that they themselves might not even be aware of, for the simple fact and matter that mediocrity has been our brand and acceptable because we're Black. And it should not be that way. And so I make it a point, an absolute point, to not dress in a particular way when I'm in public, just for the mere fact that I do not want Black African women to be associated with mediocrity. And we should all have that. Like, you know how people all say, oh, Russian women, they always got style. You know, they know the brands. Oh, Indian women, they really know how to wear gold. What is our brand as Black African women? Mediocrity is not a brand. And this is why a lot of the women, especially in the music industry, have made my stomach turn by the way they conduct themselves and the kind of music that they put out that I just don't want to have anything to do with, because if that's Black culture, then let me not be associated with that. This is going to hurt our image of ourselves, and it does something to our mental health and psyche when we see that, and that being the only thing to emulate, because it says to society that I don't care about myself, and I don't care about my culture, and I don't care about anything. So that's how people are going to treat us. Okay, guys, I hope you guys have enjoyed this segment. I've gone way over my mark. I hope it was like a mini movie. Y'all just like kept in, and I'm like, oh, finally she's back in. I hope you guys come back again. If you have any comments, please leave them down below. Of course, just be respectful about it as usual. And of course, I'll see you in the next one. Please make sure to stay safe and stay free.